everybody, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, Chatting with Chops. I try to make fun and entertaining videos that might teach you something. And I know it's been a while, but we're gonna do some baking today. I am gonna try and make the Outback whole wheat bread that you get when you go to the Outback right before you start. It's like an appetizer that they do. So we're gonna try that, but I do wanna remind you guys, 99% of the recipes I bake, I have never made before. I'm making them for the first time on screen. So if there's mistakes or flubs or they don't turn out right, entirely possible because I have not made them before. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing you want to start out with doing is you want to get 1.5 cups of your water warm. And because you're dealing with yeast, you need to be between 105 and 110 degrees. So we're going to warm up some water. Okay, so this particular recipe said to just throw everything in the bowl and start mixing. But when I'm working with yeast, I like to do things a little bit differently. So I have my 1.5 cups of water that's about 105 degrees. And then I have my 1 tablespoon of yeast, and then you want to give your yeasties a little bit of sugar so they have something to nibble on. So I'm going to give them a little bit of sugar and then just give that a nice little twirl, and then I like to leave that at least about 5 minutes. We're going to start adding the rest of the ingredients. So we've got 1.5 cups of warm water in there. We have 2 tablespoons of butter, and I usually always love to make my bakes vegan, and this one would be super easy to make vegan. All you have to do is just make sure you're using vegan butter. So plop him in there. He made a big old slop. And then 1/2 cup of honey. So make sure we get all of that honey in there. No wonder that bread always tastes so good. It's got a lot of honey in it. All right. So we have 1/2 cup of honey. And then we need 2 cups of bread flour. And I'm just using regular White Lily bread flour. All right, so we need 2 cups. That's 1. Okay, and 2. Okay, now the recipe says we also need 1 2/3 to 2 cups of regular wheat flour, which I'm using King Arthur's whole wheat flour, but it does say you need to start out with the 1 2/3 cup first. So we're gonna do 1 2/3 cup first. Okay. So there's our 1, and then let's get our 2/3 in here. Okay, and 2/3. Okay. We'll hang on to that just in case we need it again in a minute, because you can add up to 2 cups of the wheat flour to help with everything. All right, then we need, so we have that, we need 2.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder. So let's see, we have 2 tablespoons. Yes, so there's 1 and 2. And then we need 1 and 1/2. Okay. So we've got our cocoa powder in there. I've already put some granulated sugar in there for the yeast. And then we need 2 teaspoons of instant granulated sugar. Granulated coffee. And I'm just using the little Folgers coffee. So we need 2 teaspoons. And if you haven't baked with coffee before, it just enhances the flavors of pretty much anything, especially chocolate. All right, and then we already have our yeast in there, and then we need to put a little bit of salt because bread likes salt. So we just put a tiny bit of salt in there. All right, now we're gonna knead this up for about 8 to 10 minutes and just kind of watch it and see what it does. We'll actually determine if it needs more flour, if it's just super, super sticky after a few minutes. All right, I think I'm gonna go ahead and add the other third of a cup of wheat flour because it's looking a little bit sticky to me. Okay. All right, so I've let it knead a couple of minutes in the actual mixer. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it out and mix it a little bit by hand. So I put a little bit of, this is wheat flour that I'm using too, since that seems to be the predominant flour that's being used. All right. And like I said, I'm just gonna a little flour out here and just give it some good little kneading by hand. So we have kneaded it and it's all nice and pretty. Got it all nice and folded down with the bits on the bottom. And we're gonna take it and put it in a greased bowl. And I like to turn it over at least one time to get some of the grease all the way around. And then I'm gonna take a nice clean towel and cover it and let it sit for about an hour so that it has time to rise. Oh my goodness, isn't he gorgeous? I don't know why it's a he. Okay, so we have him ready to go. We're gonna spray our 2 loaf pans with our cooking spray. Get those ready. And then what we want to do next is cut him in half and make him loaves for our loaf pans. Give him a good pinch down and then bring him out of the pan. All right. And you do want to make sure that your hands have a little bit of flour on them because he's liable to try and stick to you. All right. So I've just got a regular little scraper that I use that seems to work really good on cutting bread in half. You don't really need a sharp knife, you're just working with the dough. All right. Okay, now we just want to form him into a nice loaf. Okay. Get him all nice and pretty. Almost kind of like an oversized potato. Lay him down in there. All right, and we're going to do the same thing with the other side, or the other half. Just like I said, get him looking like a nice little potato. Put him down in the greased pan, and then we're going to let those rise again. So we're going to just leave them right there and let them rise for another hour before we actually cook them. Okay, so there they go. We let them sit for about an hour to rise again once they were in the loaf pans. And ta-da! Aren't they pretty? Now we're gonna put them in the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 to 24 minutes. Again, it all depends on your oven. Now this particular recipe talks about something that I have heard before of using an oven thermometer to check and see if they're done. And the inside of your bread should be registering about 200 degrees. So we'll try that theory on this time around and see how that works. Here is the finished product of the Outback's Copycat honey whole wheat bread. I think it turned out fantastic. It just looks so pretty. Now it is a little bit darker than I would like, but the recipe said that you needed an internal temperature of 200 degrees, which would make sense to me because it's brown already because of the whole wheat and the cocoa. So it'd kind of be hard to tell when it's done as it is. So you kind of need to be able to do the internal temperature. But I'm gonna cut it open and see what it looks like on the inside. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching my videos. I have never made this before, so I hope it'll turn out good, and it looks beautiful and it smells wonderful. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next bake.